Hello, my name is Melody Dilly, and this is my presentation for MED 545 on bullying and cyberbullying. To begin this presentation, I would like to briefly define both bullying and cyberbullying. Bullying is defined as abuse and mistreatment of someone vulnerable by someone stronger, more powerful, etc. Cyberbullying is defined as the electronic posting of mean-spirited messages about a person, such as a student, often done anonymously. Actions are typically considered bullying under three different conditions. One, it is either physical, verbal, or written behavior undertaken with the intent to cause harm or distress. Two, these behaviors occur within relationships characterized by an imbalance of power. And three, behaviors that occur over a period of time. Generally, bullying is characterized by unwanted aggressive behavior. These behaviors are repeated or have the potential to be repeated. Bullying can occur both during and after school hours. It can also occur in the classroom, on the playground, on the school bus, in the neighborhoods, or also on the internet. In 2015, the National Center for Education Statistics and Bureau of Justice Statistics indicated that 21% of students aged 12 to 18 experienced bullying. Along with that, in a 2017 study, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention concluded that 19% of students grade 9 through 12 reported being bullied on school property. In a general sense, bullying can be broken down into a few different categories. For example, I have listed here verbal, social, and physical. Verbal bullying classifies saying or writing hurtful things. This constitutes things like teasing, name-calling, taunting, or threatening. There's also social bullying, which involves hurting someone's relationships through things like spreading rumors, embarrassing others, leaving someone out on purpose, and singling others out. And then physical bullying is characterized by hurting a person or harming their possessions, behaviors such as hitting, kicking, stealing, etc. To put things into perspective, I'd like to share a few statistics. 28% of the U.S. students in grades 6 through 12 experience bullying. Approximately 30% of young people admit to bullying others in surveys. 70.6% of young people say that they have seen bullying in their schools. 9% of students in grades 6 through 12 experience cyberbullying, and only about 20 to 30% of students who are bullied notify adults about the bullying. Along with that, a 2009 study estimated that over a 2-month period, around 20.8% of youth were physically bullied, 53.6% were verbally bullied, 51.4% were socially bullied, and 13.6% were cyberbullied. Another statistics about cyberbullying is that victims of cyberbullying are 8 times more likely to carry a weapon to school. And then in a study done in 2011, it showed that bullying at the age of 14 predicted violent convictions between the age of 15 and 20, resulted in self-reported violence at the age of 15 through 18, also resulted in low job status at the age of 18, and drug use at the ages of 27 to 32. Some of these statistics are very shocking to me, and they really emphasize the true need for bullying intervention and prevention programs in schools. So bullying has many effects on both the victim and the bully. Some of the short-term effects on the victim are social isolation, feelings of shame, sleep disturbance, changes in eating habits, low self-esteem, school avoidance, poor school performance, higher risk of illness or psychosomatic symptoms, as well as symptoms of anxiety and depression. We don't often think about the effects it has on the bully, but they're also important to note. So some of these in the short term are poor school performance, increased truancy risk, difficulty maintaining social relationships, as well as an increased risk of substance abuse. So we talked about a little bit about the short-term effects, but bullying can also leave lasting impressions on the victims and the bullies. For the victim, it can cause chronic depression, increased risk of suicidal thoughts, plans, and attempts, different anxiety disorders and PTSD, poor general health, as well as self-destructive behavior, including self-harm and substance abuse. It can also lead to a difficult time in establishing relationships in the future. For the bully, these behaviors can also lead to risk of spousal or child abuse, risk of antisocial behavior, substance abuse, and it can also lead them to be less likely to be educated or employed. While cyberbullying is a subset of bullying, it can be seen and treated very differently from traditional bullying. In cases of quote-unquote traditional bullying, it generally occurs in person, typically during school. It can be physical, verbal, social, etc. And in traditional bullying, the bully is recognizable and usually physically stronger. So they generally know who the bully is in that situation because they are directly interacting with them. On the other hand, in cyberbullying, it occurs through the internet or through text messages or instant messages. They're bullied by words and comments posted or pictures or videos posted. The bully in cyberbullying can be anonymous. Also, the internet is not as monitored as a classroom would be. So there's no real authority figure there kind of supervising everything said. And it's also an advantage of cyberbullying, sort of, is that it is easier to have evidence of the bullying should repercussions need to be taken. Discussing bullying and its implications leads to the question of how we as educators can work to minimize these behaviors. Students' tendency to bully others is directly impacted by teachers' approach and skill in classroom management. Studies have shown that there is a less incidence of bullying in classrooms where positive relationships are emphasized. Some strategies that educators can use to decrease the chances of bullying in their class include utilizing cooperative learning groups, incorporating social skills into class curriculum, having highly structured classrooms, encouraging extracurricular participation among students, and teaching covert individual signals that indicate need for assistance. Going along with those methods are anti-bullying programs adopted by schools. Research has shown that effective programs include positive, supportive school atmosphere, non-hostile sanctions applied immediately and consistently, continuous monitoring of student interactions, discussion of bullying with bullies, victims, parents, and other students not involved. One example of a successful program is the Always anti-bullying program. This program has 4 key principles, and they are warm, positive interest and involvement from adults, firm limits on unacceptable behavior, consistent application of non-punitive, non-physical sanctions for unacceptable behavior or violation of rules, and adults who act as authorities and positive role models. If teachers and school administration utilize these methods and programs along with being educated and trained in preventing and responding to these incidents of bullying, it should do a great deal to decrease the prevalence of bullying among students in school. Along with the question of how to minimize bullying is the question of consequence. Should there be consequences for both bullying and cyberbullying at school? And how do we as educators determine them? Bullying in the traditional sense, of course, warrants consequences when it occurs at school, and those consequences may vary depending on the incident and the school's code of conduct. Cyberbullying, on the other hand, makes facing consequences more difficult because it can happen outside of school with no adult or authority witness. In order to help address cyberbullying issues, there are a few different actions that teachers can take. These are things like educators recognizing the signs of cyberbullying. So that kind of goes along with knowing the students that you work with and knowing their normal behaviors and when things change in their lives, kind of being able to recognize those things. And then when you do recognize those things, asking them about it and asking them to report the incident of cyberbullying. And then after that, making sure that you as an educator or supervisor respond promptly and appropriately to the situation. And then, of course, connecting with parents or guardians in order to kind of fully be able to deal with the situation and monitor the student both in and out of school. In conclusion, bullying can be conducted in a variety of ways, not always initially noticeable. By being aware of the different signs of bullying, as well as executing preventative measures, teachers will be able to respond to incidents appropriately, leading to an overall more positive environment for students.